Welcome to the Kansas Communities That Care and Current Drug Trends presentation. My name is Kari Humes. I'm the Drug and Alcohol Prevention Coordinator and Counselor for USD 383. My office is located in Manhattan High School at the West Campus in room E134. And I've included a couple of pictures of me on this first slide. That way you can see what I look like in case you don't already know me. Our district's drug and alcohol prevention and intervention program is funded by the City of Manhattan through their special alcohol tax fund. This program allows for us to have pre-K through 12 drug and alcohol prevention program. That program includes the teaching of life skills to 4th and 5th grade students, and this year we are actually piloting the Life Skills High School program in 2 different classrooms here at Manhattan High West Campus. We provide a camp leadership event, which is a district-wide leadership for 4th and 5th graders from all elementary schools, and some of our students from the high school help present at that leadership conference. We do student groups, everything from Students Against Destructive Decisions to peer education, where high school students go down to the middle schools and elementary schools and provide education to their younger peers. And we do the SAFE program, which is seatbelts are for everyone. We hold alternative events. You might be familiar with our annual Spring Fling event and Project Graduation. We provide faculty education and mandatory counseling for school policy violations. Other students are often referred from youth court, probation, parents, teachers, administrators, and sometimes self-referrals from students themselves or students who are concerned about some of their friends. We work very hard to have collaborations with other youth serving agencies in the community. And then the big piece that we're going to talk about today is the Kansas Communities That Care survey. Some facts about the Kansas Communities That Care survey. It has been administered annually in our state since 1994. It's sponsored by the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services. It's free. It does require written consent of parents that we do during enrollment every year. It requires district superintendent registration. All of the responses are confidential and anonymous, so there's no way to trace results to any specific student. Data is reported by grade and by building. It does allow us to track trends over a large period of time. The data includes both risk and protective factors. Data is used when seeking funding for programming, and it allows us to assess our current programming and identify gaps in services. How do I know if the survey is valid? This is a common question. The survey does contain 3 validity checks that are built in, and those identify responses that are not honest or patterns that demonstrate a lack of attention to the survey questions. Students indicated that they weren't honest at all in completing the survey. Students indicated they had used a non-existent drug. So yes, there is a drug on there that isn't a real drug. And students that report unrealistically frequent use of substances. So any of those 3 things will flag a survey and its validity. Each year, only about 4 to 5% of surveys are found to be invalid. It is important that districts and classrooms follow the script and the protocol. That's become a lot easier since last year. We are no longer doing a paper format of the survey, and we are doing online. So it's really pretty easy for students to take, and when they log in online, all the instructions are provided for them. As far as reliability, the Kansas Communities That Care survey uses a census approach, meaning results reflect only the students who participated in the survey. Therefore, participation rates per grade, building, and district must be high in order for data to be reflective of the group it represents. The survey was developed by prevention science researchers at the University of Washington. Content validity has been statistically proven through factor analysis of each question's contribution to the risk and protective factor scale it represents. Decades of research have reinforced the validity of the survey's measures. It's proven to be very reliable over time, and results have been consistent with trends from national surveys. Longitudinal data show consistent responses among youth, which provides evidence of high reliability. As for our survey administration here at Manhattan High School, this year we will be taking the survey on December 8th during advisory time. Again, we'll be using an online version, so students will need to have their devices. It takes about 1 class hour to complete. So for advisory time, estimate it's going to take about 45 minutes on average. Please, no interruptions. The students should have all the time that they need in order to take the survey and answer those questions. I will provide you with login information and instructions a week or two before the survey date. And I will also send you a do not survey list. So as we discussed earlier, students have to have parent permission in order to take the survey. So the students who have not do not have permission to take the survey, or whose parents did not respond one way or another when they were asked if their child could take the survey, I have a list of those kids, and you have to ensure that those kids do not take the survey. Again, because the format is going to be online, IT has already cleared the website, so there shouldn't be any problems with the site being blocked. That said, often it seems like we have technological problems even when we don't expect it. So I will be available during that time on December 8th. So please just let me know if you have any issues. So we're going to go over a little bit of the data from the survey. This is the 30-day rate of alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. So on this chart, you can see across the top, these are the different substances that students are asked about. And then down on the left side, you can see we're comparing. I went back 21 years. So the very top column, you could see 2000, and then all the way down to 2021. And this type of chart really allows us to take a look at the trends of drugs over a long period of time. We kind of know that smokeless tobacco and cigarettes are less frequently used by young people. And if you look across the board, it's pretty positive that most of these numbers have decreased over time. Now, the last two columns on the right side address e-cigarettes and vapes, which we know seems to be an issue that not only our school, but schools across the country are having. The reason there's two different columns is because last year on the survey, they changed the terminology. It used to be previously that they asked the question, how many times have you used an e-cigarette? Being specific that it was a device that was for nicotine. And as of last year, they changed that question. So now it just asks, have you vaped any substance? So I broke those out because I think it's important to know that we do have students that are vaping marijuana. And so that question does not just address a Juul or an e-cigarette. That would encompass any substance that a student might be vaping. This next chart covers the 30-day rates of prescription medication. So this is the percentage of students reporting they've used the following substances not prescribed to them by a doctor at least one time in the past 30 days. And this chart demonstrates a 10-year trend in time. And I've broken it down from prescription tranquilizers, prescription stimulants, and prescription pain relievers. And again, we can see that those numbers are decreasing, which is significant. There's two kind of benchmark questions that we ask about with high school students in particular. And those are kids who are binge drinking and kids who have been drunk or high at school. So the first question, think back over the past 2 weeks, how many times have you had 5 or more alcoholic drinks in a row? And these are the percentage of kids who responded at least one time. So you can see in a 21-year period, we went from 31.4% of kids saying, yes, I've binge drank at least once in the past 2 weeks, down to 8%. And in the last 5 years, that number has really fluctuated. So that is part of why we make sure to take a look at the trend over a larger period of time. The column on the right, how many times in the past have you been drunk or high at school? And these are kids who have said at least once in the last year that they had been drunk or high at school. And again, we can see this number has decreased from 2000 when it was 22.2% of kids down to 10.4%. Now, I do want to note 10.4% is still a significant number of students who are reporting that they've been drunk or high at school. So this is something that we will continue to work on. Okay, this chart is about the kids' perceived risk of harm. So this is kids saying, you know, how risky do you think it is to use these different drugs? And this is the percentage of kids who said there is no risk. So this chart goes back 3 years, and you can look and you can see that there's been a pretty significant increase in our students who think that marijuana is not risky to them. Now, most people would not be surprised by this because of the legalization of recreational marijuana across our country in different states. that we know when that happens that kids then believe that it's less dangerous to use a substance, and therefore often the number of kids using the substance increases as well. So we could see this as a point of education that we need to make sure that kids understand that marijuana is dangerous for their young developing brain. So we have two here that are going to talk about bullying at school. This question, and this is still Manhattan High School specific, during the past 12 months, how often have you been bullied at school and seen someone being bullied at school? And this is the percentage of students who responded at least one time. The number decreased significantly in 2021. I can't say for sure if that's related to the social distancing we've dealt with and some of the remote school. If I had to guess, I would say it has something to do with that. But again, it's something we'll continue to look at in future years. This question asks kids, what do adults do when they see bullying at school? And you could see there's the answers they could have responded. I'm not certain, nothing, they ignore it, stop it and solve the problem, stop it and tell everyone to leave. So I think from looking at this, we could say, from 46.1% to 48% of kids saying they're not certain what adults do when they see bullying. That's not a significant increase. However, I do think that maybe kids are not aware of how we're handling certain situations. Again, I think there is the factor of social distancing and remote students that we had last year that I think it's really important to recognize that when we're looking at the data from that year. Now, this is the percentage of Manhattan High School students that say they do not feel safe at school. In this chart, you can see it compares the Manhattan High School building, the district, and Kansas. So from looking at this, we could say it seems like students are feeling safer at school. Again, this is a number. You could see the same thing happened in the state that happened in our building that happened across the district. So there could be some other factors that had something to do with that. How often do you feel that schoolwork you are assigned is meaningful or important? You can see the largest chunk are students who responded sometimes. We have often, almost always, never, or not often. So it's hard to see on that chart the number, but often is 13.6%. Almost always is 4.1%. So what do we know? Why does this even matter to us? Well, the brain isn't fully developed until we're in our mid-20s. We know that adolescents, they want to take risky behaviors. We know they're impulsive in their behaviors. And we know that this, like using drugs, interferes with their brain development. It causes issues with memory and damages connections in their brain. Early initiation of substance use is strongly associated with a risk for developing a substance use disorder later in life. So we know we want kids to wait later until they try a substance for the first time. We know that drug use in adolescence often overlaps with other mental health problems. And there's a lot of social consequences that we've all seen kids experience and adults that, result from using substances. Substance use problems and serious delinquency are linked. Researchers consistently find a link between substance use problems and delinquency. We know that studies from youth in the juvenile court demonstrate that a majority of court-involved adolescents have recently used illegal substances, and that more serious and chronic adult or adolescent offenders have used more substances and are more likely to qualify for a diagnosis of a substance use disorder. If you have questions or comments, please feel free to call me anytime, send me an email. And I apologize, my extension on here is incorrect. So you can contact me at 8077 is my contact. Also, I wanted to clarify, I don't think I mentioned that the Kansas Communities That Care survey is taken by 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th graders. So for this year, it will only be 10th and 12th grade advisories that will be completing the survey. So again, let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Thanks.